Okay, I'm going to go through the Act 5 study guide for everyone just to hope that you all get this done, get it turned in, and, just like we do in class, so we like to go over these together. Unfortunately, since we can't do it together, I will send these to you as an option that you can look through and see if you answered them the same way and make sure that you know what you need to know in order to take the assessment, the quiz on Monday. So I already typed in the first one. Um, it asked to explain the irony in the dream that Romeo had about Juliet. And I put it is ironic that he is talking about being dead with Juliet, since we know, once again, we have that dramatic irony. We know that this is how the story will end for them. And actually, now that you've already finished Act 3, you can see there's an added level to this that Juliet actually did find Romeo dead. So that just adds a little more to that irony. Question number 2 asked, as Balthazar gives Romeo news of Juliet, what news is Romeo waiting for? And is Balthazar the correct messenger? To answer the first part, he's waiting for news from the friar about returning to Verona. And Balthazar is not the correct messenger. I'm just going to put no there. He's not the correct messenger. Obviously, it's supposed to be somebody that was sent by the friar. What does Romeo plan to do as soon as he hears about Juliet's death? And why is there no mourning or grieving period? Well, he plans to go straight to first an apothecary to get poison, and then straight to Juliet to die. And there's no mourning or grieving period because Romeo is so passionate. Okay, we know that that's what he does. He's an action guy, not a I'm going to pause and think about this type of guy. So he plans to buy poison from an apothecary and then rush back to Juliet's tomb. There's no mourning period because Romeo does not pause to think. I'll fix my H there for everyone. How does he know he can get what he needs from this particular apothecary? He can buy it there because he knows that this one is extremely poor and could use the money, right? Because he says, I pay thy poverty, not thy will. And what does Romeo consider the poison to be? He feels that gold is the poison, not the poison itself. And how is this an example of verbal irony? Because obviously the poison is the poison. And you can write these any way that you want as you go through. I'm just kind of typing through it this way as a way to kind of explain everything that happened once again. Why was Friar Lawrence's letter never delivered to Romeo in Mantua? Friar John, who was supposed to deliver it, was quarantined. You'd think by now I could spell that right away. Was quarantined in a different town and not allowed, should be two L's there, to move forward to Mantua. Remember that they thought that he was visiting a house that had the plague in it, and so they would not let him move on. I put Menuda. Explain how the ending will become something like a chase scene at the tomb. Romeo is rushing there with his servant, and we know that Friar Lawrence is also planning to be there quickly. So they're both going to be kind of rushing there roughly the same time, because it'll take Romeo found out earlier, but it takes him longer to get there, so they're going to get there roughly the same time. Okay, so we get to scene 3. This was the big scene at the end. Why is Paris at the tomb, and what does this tell you about him? Paris is at the tomb to lay flowers at Juliet's grave. And by the way, as I'm typing through this, if you feel I'm moving too slow and you get to one where you're like, well, I already know this one, you can skip ahead if you want. That's fine. I just want to make sure everybody has access to all of the correct answers for this. So what does this tell you about him? Even though Juliet is dead, he still wants to do what is right. Okay? He is an upstanding, fine gentleman who is a tragic hero in this story. What is Romeo's stated reason? So what does he tell his servant? What does he tell Balthazar why he wants to go down in there? He wants to see Juliet's face once more and to get a ring that she is wearing. Explain Romeo's frame of mind at this point. Because he threatens to strew Balthazar's body parts all over the cemetery. Why did I type that way? You can see that he... And you can explain this any way you want to. I really wanted to type that he is off his rocker, but I'm going to make it a little more delicate and say he has lost control of his senses quite a bit. If you put off his rocker, I will also give you credit for that. When Paris tries to arrest Romeo, what is Romeo's reaction, and how does this show a calmer, more mature Romeo? Now, this is pretty interesting, considering that we can see that he has lost control of his senses. But Romeo actually tells Paris to leave him be and tell people that a madman spared his life. And this shows a calmer, more mature Romeo because he actually was thinking of another person and didn't just react, okay? He didn't just react like he has been prone to do. He gave him a chance, and he tried to talk him out of trying to arrest... He tried to talk Paris out of trying to arrest him. Who kills Paris and why? Romeo kills him because he thinks Paris is trying to stop him from entering Juliet's tomb. And I'll add to complete his quote-unquote mission. By the way, notice that I put the... ignore that. I put the period before the quotation marks on this. You should always do that. Periods always come before quotation marks. They never go after. Why does Romeo decide to bury Paris with Juliet? And is this reasonable? Okay, so Romeo recognizes that Paris has always wanted to do what's right. He also knows him as a good man and as Mercutio's cousin. Plus, it was a dying man's wish. Whether or not this is reasonable, I don't think Romeo is really in a mind of perfect reasoning right now. Okay? So I might put in here, it might not be totally reasonable to do this, but when he saw that it was Paris who he killed, he felt it was the right thing to do. So what is particularly tragic about Romeo noticing Juliet's lips and cheeks? And I talked about this in the read aloud version that we had there. Her lips and cheeks turning red tell us that she is waking up. And I'm interested to see some of your reactions to when she wakes up in the 1996 version of the play. And it makes it especially tragic because he just misses seeing her wake up. What does Romeo ask of Tybalt when he sees his body lying there? He asks for forgiveness. Why does he do this? You can speculate on a lot of different reasons why he does this. One of the main reasons is because, I would say one of the main reasons is because they're related now. And I would add that this tragedy is and was Juliet's tragedy as well. I mean, he does mention, the best thing I can do for you is to kill the man with the hand that killed you. In perfect dramatic timing, who shows up immediately after Romeo dies, a split second too late to do any good? This is Friar Lawrence. Okay? And if you wanted to add, read the quote about him stumbling over graves on his way there. Okay? What does Friar Lawrence suggest to Juliet as she awakens? Leave this place and go live with nuns. What has happened to the friar's courage and ability to remain calm? Remember, throughout this whole thing, he was a calm guy. They are gone. As soon as he hears a sound, he leaves. All right. Question number 12 is one of those where they ask, who was the speaker of this? What's the meaning of it? And what's the significance of it? Okay. So first of all, the speaker of "Thy lips are warm" was Juliet. The meaning of it is, it's pretty self-explanatory. Your lips are still warm, even though you're dead. And the significance of it is she just missed him being alive. Okay? Your lips are warm means that he literally just died. He hasn't been there for a long time. So what does Juliet do when the poison is gone? She grabs Romeo's dagger and stabs her heart. What happened to Lady Montague and why? Okay? Once again, this is a tragedy. Lady Montague, I messed that up royally, didn't I? Lady Montague died during the night because Romeo was banished and she couldn't live with it. And how does the crowd eventually learn what happened at the tomb? Mostly, they learn it from the friar. But part of the stories are filled in with the page, that's Paris's servant, and Balthazar, that's Romeo's servant. Is the lengthy speech by Friar Lawrence really necessary to the play, and why? Okay, some people would argue yes or no. I would say yes, it is necessary because it fills in the pieces for the other characters. It eliminates a lot of the dramatic irony, which kind of is important because these folks wouldn't know what happened, and as people are leaving the play, they might sit there and go, well, you know, the Montagues and they never learned about this. Okay, and remember, one of the most important things is it fulfills what was said by the chorus at the beginning of the play. Right? He said that the families have to come together. Well, they won't know to come together until they know what the story is. Question number 17. See what a scourge is laid upon your hate, that heaven finds means to kill your joys with love. First of all, the speaker of this is the prince. Okay, we can put Prince Aeschylus if you want. The meaning is basically, see? I kind of want to just leave it at that. See what your, and we can say foolish hatred if we wanted to, has caused. Now, and you can say heaven or fate or whatever it might be, but in the end, now your only children are dead because of it. You know, they would be their joys. Their only children, I think there's a little part we have to add to this because it says your joys with love, who were capable of loving each other, are dead because of it. And I think that adds to the significance, okay? It showed that a Capulet and a Montague could get along. So what do Montague and Capulet do as the play ends, and how is this fitting? They make up, if you want to put that first, but also pledge to create shoes of Romeo and Juliet in gold. And how is this fitting? Once again, this fulfills the prophecy from the beginning of the play. Now, these last two questions, questions 19 and 20, I'm leaving them open because they are up to you. There are a lot of different ways to go with these two questions. First of all, who was ultimately at fault for the deaths of Mercutio, Tybalt, Lady Montague, Paris, Romeo, and Juliet? Those are our 6 characters who ended up dead by the end of this play. Well, we can blame a lot of different people. Some people like to blame Tybalt. Some people like to blame Mercutio. I think it's pretty interesting when people go after Friar Lawrence, okay? Because even though he tried to do everything right, he kind of flubbed a lot of it. There are some minor characters that some people might say, you know, if they would have done something a little different, this could have worked out well, right? Who told Friar John to go find somebody else to go with him to deliver this personal letter? Why didn't Friar Lawrence tell Friar John, hey, this is very important, don't stop, this is time sensitive, okay? He didn't say any of that stuff. So I want to see what you think, and that's what you're going to put into 19. And in question number 20, what could have been done to prevent these deaths? If you work your way all the way back through the play to one moment in time, see if you can find something that would have been like, hey, well, this would have prevented it. Okay, I know there are quite a few people who might want to say, well, you know, if, and this kind of throws back to something that I wrote before for number 19. Couldn't we blame Rosalind for all of this? Okay, so think about it and go ahead and write what you want to write.